duty calls, and here we are. I personally believe, perhaps looking through all the list of business that you're supposed to transact as a house, this is the only one that is worth breaking a Christmas holiday for, because it's a very important national duty. It gives direction. The importance of BPS, Mr. Speaker, as has been mentioned by colleagues who have spoken ahead of me, is that it lays the strategic vision for the country in terms of budgeting and lays the walls upon which all the rest of expenditures and income are supposed to fall within. If you do not pass a proper BPS, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, then you don't have a budget, because it's upon the implementation of what has been set out in the reports of both houses of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, that the Treasury goes ahead to prepare a budget and submits it to the National Assembly for approval. However, Mr. Speaker, it is worth noting that over the years, the report of a Senate Budget and Finance Committee has continuously been ignored by the National Treasury. And I can reflect as far back as from 2013, when this House came into existence, that each year we give very salient recommendations about how our views, because we are equally leaders, just like our colleagues in the National Assembly, and perhaps even with a better global view, because many of the times when you interact with members of the National Assembly, their views are generally tilted towards appreciation of the work done by the national government and very little of the important role that devolution plays in our country, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, on many occasions, you'll find that there'll be a clash of vision and purpose and planning in terms of what the direction the country needs to take, Mr. Speaker. It's important because this report has gone to make a very serious recommendation. You know, over the years, we've become a bit more intelligent in how we handle the work. It's a little bit of what Chinua Achebe told us, that when the birds knew how to fly without perching, then the hunters also had to learn how to shoot without missing. I guess that is what our chairman, our very able chairman, Senator Kibiru, is leading us to do. That because National Treasury continues to ignore the recommendations of the Senate, then we may as well not agree with them from the very onset. And that is what is being, actually the crux of the matter in this report is that we are varying their recommendation of the amount of money that they want to give to counties at 370, which is a stagnation of what was done the previous year. And we were all in this house. We remember very well the battle that we took, the tears that were shed in this house for us to get the county allocation to 370 billion. It's an insult to the intelligence of this house, to the purpose, to all the 10+ weeks that we spent in this house haggling to push that figure to 370. Therefore, I want to plead with my colleagues that let us make a commitment today that once we pass this report, there is no turning back. If it means that we stick our necks out until it gets to the next administration, actually, that will come in August. In any case, we have passed CARA in the last, I think it was a 2018 financial year, in the month of August, or was it even September? So there'll be no emergency. We must stick to our guns and maintain the position of this BPS, that actually the fair figure to give to our counties is in excess of 500 billion Kenya shillings. Because if you're maintaining that if this budget is growing by 9.2%, then the budget of the counties as well should grow by a figure almost equal. Actually, this is not a figure that as a Committee of Budget and Finance we just plugged out of the blues. It is actually empirically achieved, because we just did an extrapolation and said, okay, you take into consideration inflation, the growth of revenue, and the growth of the overall size of the budget. Because our duty under Article 96 of the Constitution of Kenya is to protect the interest of the counties and their government. How can we say as a House, Mr. Speaker, that we are protecting the interest of counties if we are not sticking firm, picking out obvious errors, such as what is being proposed in this budget policy statement? When Ukuri appeared before us, The position of the Budget and Finance Committee was straight and clear to him that, Mr. Minister, this is nonsense. This one cannot be accepted. Because if you're growing the size of the national overall budget, then the size of funds and resources that are going to counties must equally grow. Anything short of that was completely unacceptable to us. The only reason, and this was pointed out to him and it's mentioned in the report, that we will have maintained 370 billion going to counties is if, in follow-up to our recommendation on our report as a house on our debt management strategy as a country, is if we had cut down on our fiscal deficit. And now that they are not willing to listen, actually, if you read through this budget, the fiscal deficit actually moves by a whooping 891 billion Kenya shillings. It takes us actually close to the end of close to the ceiling, the budget, the debt ceiling that we proposed before this house. In fact, and there's reason to strongly believe so, that many keen followers of budget making process in this country are actually asking us that if you pass this BPS in the current form and state, won't you actually, by a reverse process, be raising the debt ceiling without revealing to the particular country, to the citizens of a country? Therefore, we need to be cautious about the work that you are doing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, the reason why we speak with a lot of concern is that generally there is an agreed thinking across the breadth and space of the Republic of Kenya that as a country things have gone wrong. Yet, unfortunately, we are so obsessed with all the things that don't matter about our politics, who will be the next president, how will they achieve, how can we should change the other, but not focusing on the things that matter. Mr. Speaker, we have just returned, many of us, those of us that participated in the just concluded East African Parliamentary Games. And something so curious, something actually struck my curiosity at the Namanga border. And I asked one police officer, or actually revenue officer, who was there, and they mentioned and informed me that actually the people who needs to be concerned is you, the leaders. If you come in from the Tanzanian side, you will find hundreds and hundreds of trucks that are bringing in goods into the Republic of Kenya. Yet on the side of Kenya, there is absolutely nothing. That officer actually informed me that, Senator, what you need to know is that there is only one scanner in this one border post. The scanner that belongs to the Kenyan government inspecting goods that are coming in from Tanzania. There is nothing on the Kenyan side because ideally the trucks that are going to Tanzania are going back empty. So we might be priding ourselves that, oh, we are the superpower of the region, we are still strong, our economy is bigger, reading all those information, the data that is sent from World Bank, thinking, oh, so long as we still have $100 billion worth of GDP, while the closest is Tanzania at 60-something, we are still a superpower. But up to when, Mr. Speaker? All evidence indicates that actually all the rest of the East African community countries are catching up with us. They are doing actually the trade balance for the last 2 years between us and a country like Tanzania has actually tilted in favor of Tanzania. That for the first time since independence, Tanzanians are actually selling more goods to us than we are selling to them as a country. What does it point out to, Mr. Speaker? It points out that there is something fundamentally wrong with how we are managing our economy. And if you read through this BPS, Mr. Speaker, you can clearly see that this is already a rigged document that is pointing out to a budget that is made to benefit only a few well-placed sharks and not the ordinary citizens, Mr. Speaker. If we do not do our business, and I'll give you a practical example. Just look at the proposal. You know already that in this house, Mr. Speaker, we have unconcluded business on the leased medical equipment, where we continue to pay billions of Kenya shillings, you know, for facilities that are lying, Mr. Speaker. And this is an indictment to each and every one of us, the 67 of us who are in this house.
Order, member.
The fact that...
Order.
Senator Aaron Cheruiyot, you have 11 more minutes when the motion comes up next for debate. Honorable Senators, it is now 12:30, time to adjourn the House. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until today, Tuesday, 21st December, 2022 at 2:30 p.m.